Hey, everybody's going to know about the bag in the garbage. Oh, the Joe and Joe show begins on a wonderful note. Did she get the bag of garbage? Let's
Did they
just
get, no, I want to know if there was a bag in the garbage. No, I want to know if there was a bag in the garbage. And now we have it on Echo here.
exactly.
Get rid of that. All right.
Well,
There we
listen, if the
go.
bag is big enough, I'm going to jump in. Just so you know,
Oh,
be
oh
it
boy.
be advised.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. The Joe and Joe show is, as it is brought to you by every night, our friends at Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest rock salt source, and a source of everything you need when it comes with dealing with winter storms. Not that you would really call today's system a winter storm, but it was an inconvenience. And you can find Omni True Value at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. By the way, come the springtime, great place to go to get your mulch, your topsoil, all the things you need to make your yard look great. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and they do have the best prices in town, and they are also a local business, which is what you want to do, is support your local business. And right now, Joe, I'm just going to tell you, hold on, my mouse just kind of went on me. Okay, good. The website is omnitruevalue.com. So this has been a very interesting afternoon. First off, we have I don't know if he's still there, Joe, but we had a special guest on the chat board, and this special guest was how shall we say, livid, because we have not mentioned his name on the air in quite a while. Do you know who this special person is?
Uh,
The sound
if
effect, the
he,
sound effect makes it sound like you do know.
no, somebody's actually upset that we haven't mentioned him.
Yeah, Joe,
Yes.
Sal Blandino.
Slab.
Sal,
Blandino.
Sal Blandino was on, and he was upset that we haven't mentioned him, because he was waiting the other night before we went to, and I quote, Thriller Jeopardy. It's Briller Jeopardy after the chairman Scott Briller, Sal. And yeah, we've been kind of wondering, Joe and I, even though we haven't talked about it, but we were kind of wondering where you've been. Where have you been hiding? Where have you been hiding, Sal Blandino?
Well, the weather certainly was somewhat semi-atrocious today for Sal to
Well,
burn a little bit,
he did say on the chat
to pop
earlier, and
off.
he did say in the pre-show chat. I'm trying to find it because I would love to. I want to quote it word for word. Um, but he basically defined what would be acceptable for a snowfall if we get one early next week. With let's see, no, I can't find it now. But he's okay with a moderate snowfall, but not that where it gets out of hand. And I responded on the chat board by asking him to tell us exactly how many flakes, specifically how many flakes are allowed to fall and how many raindrops are allowed to fall before it becomes unacceptable. So he did not he didn't come up with a number yet, but I'm waiting with bated breath.
All right.
Now you know
How
what.
about snowflake? How about snowflakes?
Yes. So you know what? We've got some early super chat hits, and I forgot. And thank God the executive producer reminded me that I didn't have my glass of wine. So I'm going to go get my glass of wine, and you go over the super chats and make conversation until I come back.
Okay. So while Joe gets his little drinky poo, let's check out the chat board. Joe Gaffney is on. Hi to you, Joe. And that makes three Joes: Joe Gaffney, Joe Rayo, Joe Chiaffi. Johnny Quest is online. So is Tim Veltman. And let me see if there are any interesting questions. Weather brief. We have a weather brief here on the chat board. Heavy thunderstorms here in North Georgia last night into this morning. And we also had reports, and I saw this on the CBS Evening News, of tornadic activity, which unfortunately claimed a life with the very serious storm activity. The storm itself, very large to the south of the storm track, severe weather, thunderstorms, and to the north and to the west of the storm track, record setting snows in Nebraska. Mr. Chiaffi, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. By the way, I want to also, many thanks. Some of you have already hit super chat for my birthday, which is tomorrow. I will be turning the big 62 tomorrow. So, and that
Yeah.
we should remind everybody that tomorrow night, uh, the time is approximate. Okay, we're going to schedule a live stream for 9:30. There's a chance, depending on Atlanta traffic, that I may get back by 9:30. Because if you haven't been to Atlanta, you have no idea what traffic is like. You think Long Island traffic is like. You think Jersey traffic is bad. Long Island traffic is bad. It's like driving on a Sunday compared to how bad it gets in Atlanta. So just so you know, but we have a show tentatively scheduled for 9:30 tomorrow. We might wind up having to push it back by a few minutes. I'm thinking I should be back by then, but just in case, I just want to leave that window open.
What's that do? What's the main? If it's I-85 is the main
75, 75, and then there's a whole bunch of them. There's 75, there's 85, there's 285, there's 275, there's $1.99. You know, there's 525, 515, or 525, quarter of six. It's like the Bugs Bunny. It's like the Bugs Bunny cartoon with the sheriff of Nottingham. Arise, sirloin of beef. Arise, Earl of Cloves, Sheriff
Earl
of
of Wilson.
Nottingham, Count of Basie, cirrhosis of liver, quarter of 10. That was always my favorite one. Was quarter of 10.
Yeah.
So
are you gonna do a rant now, or
yeah, because I'm livid actually. I appreciate everybody that's on the chat board, by the way, and everybody's great. We have a wonderful time, and I am, I think Joe and I are both certainly accepting. And none of this is coming from here, by the way. Let's make that clear. This something that happened on two things that happened on my Facebook page. Now, Joe, in the last 4 days, did we or did we not say over and over and over again that this system that we were dealing with for today was going to be weak, pretty much a nothing, a very minor event, that we were talking about accumulations on the order of a coating to maybe an inch or two in our general viewing area, which encompasses eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not crazy here. Okay. Well, there's a conversation on my Facebook page that is still up there because the person hasn't taken it down yet. But it was basically an accusation of hyping this up, and my initial response was, how do you hype up a 1 to 2? How do you hype up a coating to an inch or two? How? Okay, it's not possible. All right, but I was livid. I was absolutely livid because the initial accusation then led on to other things being said that are frankly no one else's business but yours and mine. Okay, not that you were involved in the conversation, but I'm just talking about in generalities, yours and mine. I basically told them, if you don't like it here, go someplace else. But it just infuriates me because you and I both take time out of our day, okay, to do the things that we do. I mean, you don't do the website stuff that I do, but you do other things. But I got my website, my Patreon, my subscription website, that's not a problem. The issue is not there. This is specifically for people on Facebook who seem to think that they're entitled to everybody's work for free, and it just doesn't work that way. So if you have a problem and you're watching this show and you're on Facebook and you have a problem with me, private message me and we'll go at it. Okay, but I'm not going to take stuff like that sitting down because it's just not true. Okay, it's just, I mean, there's just there is, we do. I think people have told us, and I think we try and do a credible job night after night and day after day, and we'll lay it at that. And then someone else, by the way, then sent me a message. Somebody I didn't know, an anonymous message, leading off saying, asking me if they could provide some feedback, and I said, sure, go ahead. And then they proceeded to use expletives left and right. So that was really wonderful. And then they blocked themselves, so I couldn't even have the dignity of not responding to of blocking them. Okay,
Right.
so yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I really don't spend a whole lot of time even on my own Facebook page because I just have no patience and no desire to get involved with people in their drama. I just don't. And by the way, remind me after the show because there is something going on Facebook that you need to know about that involves you.
Uh-oh.
Okay, but I won't. I
Now
won't
what
do.
did I do?
I won't do it publicly, but it does involve you. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll let you stew on that for 45 minutes. All right, so
You talk about the inability of getting back at this person because he already had blocked you.
well, the
One
one
of
that
the
the one that used that basically called that, well, they called me an MF.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
without saying it, obviously I'm not going to say it, but that's what they called me.
I used to the private weather forecasting service, which you're well aware where I used to work. There was a person who was let go, and he believed that one of the reasons he was let go was because of things that I said about him. So some days after he was let go, he sent a letter to my house. He knew my home address, and he wrote something basically like, "You're the company stooge, and you're the reason why I'm not at the company anymore, and I put a lot of this on your shoulders." Blah 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 blah, and it was really a nasty letter. He didn't leave a return address, so I was not able to respond to him. But I kept the letter, and I knew where that letter was, and it was always put in a special place. Years later, this particular person had gotten into television, and now he's looking around for a job in television. And so he contacts me at News 12, thinking that I may have forgotten about that letter and thinking I don't even know,
Joe,
don't
you get a
remember the
letter
letter.
like that, you're never going to forget it.
No, of course not.
You're never going to forget it. But
Of
go
course
on.
not. But what happened was that he came back. He was all of a sudden he was my best friend, my best buddy. Hey, how you doing? And it's been a long time, and blah blah blah. So, is there any way that maybe you can give me a good word about this? So I said, you know what? I think I have something for you. Give me your home address, which he did. And then when I got home, I made a copy of the letter and I sent my own comments like, you remember this? And do you actually honestly believe I'm going to do something nice for you now after this letter or whatever? And I sent it put it in the mailbox, sent it out, never heard from him again.
And you never
So I know
will.
I probably never will
Unless he
either.
watches this show.
Well, if you did, if you're watching right now, you know who you are. There you go.
Yes.
But at least I got the pleasure of getting the final say or the final
Right. No,
answer.
no. I listen. I get it. That was perfect revenge. You may never.
Yes.
Uh, I've always I've always thought and have said this to when someone does something like that to you, um, you may not you may not necessarily get even now, but at some point, life is funny and things come back to bite you if you're not careful.
Right,
So
exactly.
you never should
Well,
do.
the old saying goes, never put it in writing.
Well,
If you're gonna,
that's yeah.
if you're PO'd at somebody, be man enough or woman enough or whatever to tell that person to his or her face. Because if you put it in writing, it's never going to go away, as
Yep.
that person who I just alluded to found out.
Especially if the person who gets the letter doesn't tear it up and just puts it away,
Right.
for future reference. All
Yeah.
right, enough of that. Enough of all that drama. I just had, I had to kind of get that out because I don't want to put something on Rage Book, as I call it. Better to just kind of verbally say something here. If the person sees it, they know who I'm talking about, and I really don't care what they think. And you know what? If they don't like it, they can just leave the board. They can take themselves off my Facebook page. I could care less. Okay, so let's start off with what's going on tonight, Mr. Rayo. And poor Joe Moskowitz, our friend out in Nevada, because I think he has a blizzard warning now that's up. The West is raging with winter storm warnings. You don't see this too often, but most of the state of California, away from the immediate coast, is under a winter storm warning, and they have blizzard warnings up for two areas on one right along the Nevada state line and on the California side. I'm going to pull up there. I'm going to pull up that zone because I'm curious as to what the wording is for the blizzard warning. But it does not include Yosemite National Park, which is under a winter storm warning. Have you been to Yosemite?
No, I've been to Arches National Park and Zion and a few of the other state parks out west, but I have not been to Yosemite.
No, I've been
Or
to
some,
I've been to
or some
Yosemite. It's a
people refer to
beautiful
it as, or some people refer to it as Yosemite.
Yosemite. Yes, and I've been there. Now it's beautiful. So I'm just reading for the weather statement here. Let's see where they have the blizzard warning. Blizzard warning in effect from 10 p.m. to 4. Blizzard conditions expected. Total snow accumulations of 2 to 4 feet, except 3 to 6 feet above 7,000 feet. Winds gusting at 50 in lower elevations and 100 miles an hour at times over the ridges with whiteout conditions. Just in case you happen to be hanging on a ridge, on the edge of a ridge on a mountain, just beware that you may be.
Move that, move that off to the right a little bit, Joe.
Oh,
Not more than
sure.
just a little bit,
Yeah, I'm
because
sorry.
it's like,
Yeah, there it is. Um, yeah, let me know when you see that because I don't always remember to do that.
yeah,
Rough
yeah.
conditions on Lake Tahoe, much of the week, 30 to 45. Wave heights on the lake of 2 to 5 feet. Periods of thunder snow. They're even mentioning thunder snow. This must be some storm out there. I would. I, the thing about wanting to experience a storm out in the Sierra Nevadas is the fact that you're going to have to understand that you could wind up being holed up for a long period of time if you get caught. And here's the snowfall forecast map out there. We showed it last night to illustrate some of the big numbers that they put up. Look at this. This is the biggest one I think I've ever seen, Joe. 113. 113. That's
113.
that's almost, what is that? 10 feet, almost 10 feet. 120 inches is 10
Right.
feet. So this is 9 feet. 9 feet would be
9,
108, 100, 9 feet,
9.4,
5 inches.
9.41. Yeah.
That's
I'm just, hang
insane.
on. Yeah.
9 feet,
Crazy.
5 inches. We've got an 81. We have a 40 just outside Carson City. Carson City now 18. Reno 13. I hope Joe has a shovel. 67. Look, these are incredible. This is just to see these kind of numbers. Could you ever, because we don't see those even in big storms that we get here in the Northeast. We don't see triple digit numbers like they
Oh,
do out west.
no. Not even in Barnes Corners do you see 113
No,
inches.
no. You know, or Tug Hill.
Or Tug Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or Tug Hill. But the West is, again, these weather systems keep coming into the West, and they are moving along. Oddly enough, that today's system that we had, Joe, this is actually the first in a series. The second one is going to come for later tomorrow night down in the mid-Atlantic states, and we are looking at the digital forecast here, where they're going for a coating to a couple of inches from eastern Kentucky into western Virginia, the mountains of Tennessee, and also in western North Carolina, and a coating to an inch or so clear across the northern third of North Carolina and the southern third of Virginia, all the way to the coast. So this is the storm that the models were really gearing up in a big way. Then they backed off, and now they've kind of come back to the idea that some snow is going to fall out of this. But this is not coming up here. This is going to be doing one thing for us, and Joe Rayo will tell you what that one thing is. Won't you, Joe?
I will. I will.
Please.
Now, I was just reading, since you mentioned him, I went to Joe Moskowitz's, a good friend of ours who we used to share the spotlight with at News 12 Long Island. He was one of the news anchors, and now he's, as Joe mentioned, out west. And I'm looking at his Facebook page, Joe, and it says, "Congratulations, it's been promoted. No longer just a winter storm watch. It is now up to a warning. My phone started ringing by saying, quote, Joe, you're gonna die. Tuesday through Thursday, winds up to 60 miles per hour, heavy snow, locusts, cats, and dogs together."
I know, too funny, isn't it?
It's funny if you're sitting where we are as opposed to where he is. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Just
it
incredible.
sure is.
Now, let me get off of that page. And what did you say about
the storm? The storm that's going to
everybody.
form in the southern Mid-Atlantic states tomorrow and tomorrow night is not going to be not come up here, but it is going to do something here. And I said that you would explain. In fact, I am putting up a map of the low temperatures forecast for Friday morning across the Northeast, and that so take it away.
But Joe, every once in a while, maybe once or twice a winter, you see what is about to happen here in the Northeast take shape, and that is you see the thickness lines end up looking like increasing contour lines.
All right, let me get the thickness line. Hold on. I'm going to get the thickness lines.
It's circular, and the inner circle, the innermost circle here is, I believe, down to something like 496 thickness, which covers a good chunk of the northeastern United States.
Hang on.
Joe is bringing up.
I'm getting there. It's the circle of death.
I see.
Well, there it is. There's the 498 thickness that's up in upstate New York. That and we get to a 504. The 498 goes down into eastern Connecticut and Massachusetts. They're all inside that 498. And this is really very cold air that's coming down.
Did you see what the projected 850 temperature is for the Northeast for our area?
I certainly could put it up.
Minus 21.
Yeah, that's
minus 21.
Yeah, that's cold. I mean, yeah, you can see the extent. Look how the zero going down into the Carolinas is not that's not a big deal. But the core of the cold air is inside that white zone that you see on the 850 map. And yeah, I mean, we've got some really very low numbers here. Up in Vermont and New Hampshire, we're looking at minus 25, minus 30 at 850, minus 35 up there.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, this is cold. This is cold stuff.
Back in the good old days, you would see a broad area covering not only the Northeast, but extending all the way back up into South Central Canada. This is a relatively small bubble, a very concentrated bubble of frigidly cold weather, which will be sitting right over us come Friday morning. And you combine that with the winds that are going to be blowing around the backside of that big storm that we're going to miss out on here in our neck of the woods. And I got to tell you something, Joe, it may very well be, if not for our area, for parts of the Northeast, there are going to be some kind of wind chill warnings or advisories posted for late Thursday night and Friday morning. We're going to talk about temperatures, wind chill temperatures, easily in our area, sub-zero, and in some spots in the Northeast, verging on like 20 and maybe even 30 below zero.
Well,
Dangerously cold wind
I got
chills.
the apparent temperatures for 7 a.m. Friday here. So these are the wind chill numbers. So lows will be in the single digits to below zero throughout much of upstate New York and New England. But yeah, you got some, uh, where
We've got minus 22.
minus 22. I guess that's Hunter Mountain there. But a lot of
Yeah,
places with between minus 10, minus 20. I don't know that what do you what's that? Maybe Old Forge minus 42,
minus 42 at Old
minus
Forge. It
42,
looks like Old
minus
Forge.
47. This has got to be this has got to be Mount Washington, minus 47.
Yeah, yeah. But
I
you
mean,
know what? Sadly, not sadly. I mean, I'm not saying that this is wonderful weather or whatever, but and I know you can too. Probably we could remember back at least into the 70s where there were some days where we actually had the actual ambient air temperature in upstate New York in minus 35 to minus 45 or 47 territory.
yeah, it's been a long many years where we've had. You and I can both remember times. If you remember back before the blizzard of '79, and even with the blizzard of '78, with the big cold high to the north, I mean, those were mornings where you woke up with temperatures in upstate New York that were minus 30, minus 40. It's been a long time since we've had cold that brutal up that way. Certainly not in the
I
last
vaguely
5 or 6 years.
I vaguely remember in 1994. Now that's what? That's 20, 26, 27 years ago.
Hmm.
Excuse me. 94 was, yeah, about 27 years ago. And maybe somebody who's watching, maybe if you're a member of the North Jersey Weather Club, I seem to remember in January or February of 94, parts of northern and northwestern New Jersey had actual air temperatures of 25 and 30 below zero.
Oh yeah, I remember
Um,
that. And by the way,
yeah, it's
Saturday morning is some places even colder. They got low in New York City of 15, 11 in central Long Island, 7 up in Poughkeepsie, 0 at Albany, and then you get into the double-digit minuses up in upstate New York. This is definitely the coldest air mass of the season so far. Probably going to see lows in the teens as far south as North Carolina out of this, at least going into Friday morning. Maybe not so much Friday night into Saturday morning, but that'll depend on radiation. But this is cold air.
I saw some of the local TV forecasters on their 7 day outlook were calling for highs in New York City on Friday of like 25, 26, 27. I would like to just simply say that I just have a feeling, I have a suspicion that it's going to be a lot colder than that, even in the city, that there are going to be a lot of places that are going to have a tough time breaking 20 despite sunshine on Friday. It's going to be by far and away the coldest day we've seen
Yeah,
this season.
Weather Service digital forecast has a high Friday of 25.
I don't know. I think it
Yeah,
might be
it might
might
even
be a
be
shade
lower
too
than
much.
that. And even Saturday now, Saturday only a high of 28. That's one thing with an air mass like this. When it does come down, sometimes the models want to moderate things rather quickly. And as we get closer and
Right.
closer, the moderation really takes longer and longer. And Sunday, it's back up into the upper 20s and low 30s. You get lower and middle 30s as you go a little bit further south. But even these numbers could be a little bit high, depending on the timing of the next weather system. Because if you believe the GFS, will be clouding up on Sunday, and there'll be snow coming in later in the afternoon and evening. But the other models are slower. We'll see. We'll discuss that momentarily. But bottom line is, we got very very cold air that's coming. Meanwhile, Joe, tonight.
And I said that it's concentrated cold, as I said, with the where you see the thickness lines, where you see that 498, that circular area 498, and literally the frigidity is directly underneath that. And as that circular area, that zone, that small zone, literally begins to move away to the east and northeast, the temperatures will start to respond even late in the day or even the evening hours by beginning to try a slow climb upward. But with the core of that so close to us in the first part of the day on Friday, that makes me argue that the temperatures, which, as you just mentioned, Joe, the computer models tend to warm things up a little bit quick. I strongly suggest that temperatures again may not get much above 20 degrees and may even stay below 20 for much of the day in many areas,
Yeah.
and may make it above 20 even in New York City for a good part of the day on Friday. It's going to be cold.
Yeah, total agreement. Meanwhile, from the snow this afternoon today that wound up leaving, I don't know, what did you wind up with there? An inch?
No, we didn't have
No,
any.
didn't even get that.
I didn't even bother. Number one, I didn't even bother to go out with a ruler, because if it were more than a half an inch, and it wasn't even that much, very surprising. And on my driveway, while a good part of the driveway is snow covered, there are other parts with big holes,
Hmm.
and I had pavers in front of my front door. Only half of the pavers were snow covered. I didn't even bother to do anything, sweeping or scraping or shoveling, on the assumption that tomorrow the temperatures, even without much sunshine, will make it to the mid and upper 30s. That should pretty well take care of a goodly amount of the snow by later tomorrow. So it was a nothing event.
Right.
I know that a lot of the forecasts were saying maybe as much as 3 inches for up here. We didn't even come close to that.
Yeah.
So
According to an inch or maybe two in some odd spots here and there. That was really about it. And the radar this evening, you got some bands of steadier snow now in eastern Massachusetts, the southern tip of New Hampshire. That's in between Massachusetts and Maine, and also into Maine itself, getting a few bands around Portland and going into Augusta. There's another area in upstate New York, north of I-90 and up the Northway. The back edge, central Connecticut now moving east. There's some stray snow showers still back in parts of Pennsylvania, in and around the Scranton area, and on up into the west side of the Catskills, seeing some bands of snow and a little bit of lake stuff going on too. But other than that, we're pretty much done. Some showers showing up in the coastal Carolinas down into the Florida Panhandle and across the lower Gulf, the lower central Gulf Coast. So this is the beginning of the setup for the system that's going to be developing in the southern mid-Atlantic. And you've got some energy back in parts of western Nebraska, down into North Texas, and also some snow back into Colorado. And then, of course, some big precip now coming in to California, along the central and northern coast of California, going all the way up into southern Oregon. Heavy rain at the coast, heavy snow in the mountains. So definitely very busy. A lot busier on the radar this week than it was maybe a week ago, when we couldn't find anything anywhere for the most part with regards to precipitation. So how about we look at WPC? Shall we look at WPC?
why not?
Why not? So we'll start with the surface map tonight. And that particular surface map is showing a low earlier today near Louisville, and kind of a weavy warm front down into northern South Carolina. Joe, I was in the low 60s. I had thunderstorms here last night in North Georgia, and they have snow in the forecast here for tomorrow night in the mountains.
Joe, I'm going to get your goat now. You ready for
Yes.
this?
Well, go ahead.
On the chat board, I never saw this person before. Sakidi Gindo
No idea.
or Sakidi Gindo. I would donate $50, but you hyped this storm up for nothing.
Uh, keep your $50. Okay? Keep it. You need it. You need it. You really do. You need it so that you can go to a psychiatrist and figure out why it is you don't understand. You don't understand or hear only what you want to hear. All right. So put it toward your medical insurance.
And the chairman just wants to let you know that he's going to have to work on your birthday tomorrow. He just wants to get your present. He has hit super chats tonight.
Thank you.
Thriller Birthday Jeopardy, highest and lowest temperature ever in Central Park on January 27. You rock, miss everyone. So
thank you, Scott.
I could look that up if you want. Highest and lowest temperature on your birthday, January 27th at Central Park.
For years on my birthday, through the stretch in the 80s and 90s, it was always in the 50s on my birthday. But when we got into the 2000s, when I was going through my 40s, It snowed a lot of the time on my birthday and got a few big storms on my birthday in the last 20 years. So I've been more than compensated for the lack of snow activity on my birthday prior to that. I'm running out of
And
wine.
well, it's one thing I could never get on my birthday. My birthday's in August, so it's never
Right.
snowed on my birthday, except maybe in 1816, the year without a summer. But I don't have adequate records to verify that.
By the way, yeah, the primary low, in spite of the block, this weak primary low somehow managed to go all the way to Buffalo. Don't ask me how it did this, but again, this was very weak, very disorganized. It just never was much to this, and now of course it will play out to the east and go away, and then we'll set up the next storm. Now, let WPC on their 7-day preset map, Joe, has now got us. Now we have nothing in the forecast, precip wise from now right through right into Sunday at least. So they've got
Right.
us in 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches of liquid. So they're clearly looking at what's going on and thinking that we're going to
Monday.
certainly get something out of this weather system that's now coming into the west. And look at the West Coast. My God, just loaded. We're talking 5 to 10 inches of liquid precip up and down the coast. And in the inland areas in the mountains, where the Sierra Nevadas, they got 10 to 15 inches of liquid being indicated there. The 10-to-1 ratio, that's 100 to 150 inches of snow that's going to fall in the next week. I mean, that's insane. So the 113 is justified. They may be too low, believe it or not.
Wow.
Now, WPC for tomorrow on the snow in the 72 hours. So, but this will be for later tomorrow night into Thursday. They have now gone to show a 70 to 80% probability of at least 2 inches in parts of southwestern Virginia. And the 20 to 30% line extends well into eastern North Carolina and eastern Virginia. Also, we're seeing some high probabilities in upstate New York and on up into New England with the leftover precip that's going on tonight and into tomorrow. But the 4 to 7 day was pretty interesting to me because now we actually have coverage on 2 days here on day 6 and day 7. They have a 30 to 50% chance of at least 1/4 of an inch of snow and sleet, Joe, for much of northern New Jersey, eastern and central Pennsylvania, northern Maryland, the Hudson Valley, down to New York City, southwestern Connecticut, and 10 to 30% from northern North Carolina all the way up into southern New Hampshire and southern Vermont. And then on Tuesday, they actually it's not often you see this. I mean, certainly up in New England, they have a 50 to 70% chance of at least 1/4 of an inch in the northern Berkshires and also in parts of southern New Hampshire and into southwestern Maine, or whatever you call that part of Maine near Portland. So very clearly,
Down east.
WPC's looked at the models and particularly the European, and they're thinking, this might be something. That's according to them.
That'd be a fine way to kick off Groundhog Day on Tuesday. Wasn't it in the movie with Bill Murray that they were expecting a blizzard that night or whatever, or the next day with
Yes, I think it was.
that movie? Oh well,
So,
maybe
you
art
know what?
nature.
I
Art.
never seen a Groundhog Day in its entirety.
Really?
Yeah, I watched some of it, and then I just sort of got bored with it, and I was like, I'm not watching this anymore. So that's just me.
Phil
Yes.
Connors?
So I have the upper air, and if you follow the flow, the upper high, which the block that is slowly weakening, and you have a strong upper low in northern New England. So if you follow the flow around the high, this is where our cold air is coming from. It's actually coming from Greenland, which you don't see too often, but you do see it when you have a blocking pattern. And no wonder we're seeing the cold that we're seeing. And the storminess in the west, you have this really deep trough that's down in the western part of the United States that's coming in. Were it not for the block in that position, We probably would be blowtorching right now, but instead we have this very strong upper low in New England on Friday, and the cold air being funneled down from eastern Canada rather than western Canada. That upper low is going to pull out. You've got this short wave that is moving east, and you can see on the European, Joe, it energy comes down from the north and it cuts off just off the Virginia coast on Tuesday, and then tracks northeast into the Gulf of Maine on Wednesday. So it's a fairly dynamic looking feature on the upper air. Whether it's there tomorrow remains to be seen. It's been there for 2 runs in a row. One of the things that is a little, if you're looking at this and thinking, well, how may this, how something might not happen. Well, pay attention to this system coming into the Pacific Northwest, because if that's stronger, that could kind of flatten the flow a little bit. So, if it's weaker, or depending on the timing of it, it'll impact the ridge that's between that one and the system along the East Coast. So there are. This is by no means any kind of certainty here, but the models are certainly hinting that something could happen early next week in the east, and then you get this trough to dive down further south as usual around here. Sometimes, if after you do get a snowfall, it warms up and rains. So don't be surprised if that happens too. That if we do get something out of this early next week, that after a couple of days we'll probably warm up and see some rain with a cold front at the end of next week.
Well, the models, so it's also a bit of confusion as to not just the timing with this system early next week, but I mean in terms of the precipitation type, some models are suggesting it's going to warm up quickly and go from snow to rain. Others are the European is keeping the storm far enough south and keeping us in enough cold air to suggest that we might have something significant to talk about next week.
Right.
But again, we're talking about something that's 6 to 7 days out. So
Long way to
you know,
go. I mean, this is,
we'll see.
obviously long way to go with this. We do. I want to bring up the Canadian, because the Canadian today was kind of like the European model, and the icon was also kind of like the European model. Joe, one of the things about this, first off, the first system for tomorrow, I don't want to ignore that, because that's at least going to bring some snow in the southern mid-Atlantic states. So I'll just let the circle of death load here and get these maps up. And we'll use the Canadian model as sort of a compromise between all of them. It was probably a fair enough compromise. But so here's our storm system, our weak system that's going on now. We're getting rid of that. Here comes the one that's going to pass by to our south. You see that low off the north, right on the North Carolina coast. Really doesn't strengthen in a big way until it's far enough offshore, but there's enough in the upper atmosphere and enough cold air that you're seeing snows down into the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, and also snow into southernmost Virginia. That pulls away. We get very cold. High comes down. Now here comes one of the powerhouse from the west gets ejected eastward. This is Saturday evening, and that low goes across Missouri into Illinois and then drops into Kentucky. You've got a fairly strong high that builds up in eastern Canada here. So the primary is going to die out, the secondary is going to develop, and again, how the upper features line up will decide how this plays in any direction, be it by strength or also by precip type. So we've got a lot of time to watch this, and many computer runs to go, and all sorts of hype that is going to show up on Ragebook, which is I'm already mentally preparing myself for that. So,
Well, if nothing else, it makes me look a little bit better, because even yesterday there are people who were saying, and Joe Rayo said we were going to see a backloaded winter, and where is it, Joe? That kind of thing. So
you
it'd be
don't
wonderful if
criticize
we were able
somebody's
to hit.
you don't criticize somebody's forecast until after the time frame of the forecast has passed, or
Well,
or
what I'm saying is, it'd be nice. I was saying it'd be nice if we got a big one, right off the bat in the month of February. That would be lovely.
right,
For me, it
or
would.
or to quote the man who wired himself with a bomb and held Lois Lane, played by Phyllis Coates, hostage in the Superman episode. No comment until the time limit is up.
I hated Phyllis Coates.
Oh, I loved her.
I did not like
I
Phyllis Coates
loved
one bit.
Phyllis Coates. Oh yeah,
I
I
love
did.
I love
It's not
no
that I
no
I was okay with Noel Neal. I don't get me wrong, but I really liked. You know what? Phyllis Coates would be a perfectly acceptable Lois Lane today, as a career-minded, tough reporter doing her job, doing the best she can.
Right.
Noel Neal was maybe a little bit softer, just a little softer, I thought.
Well, no, Phyllis Coach was always trying to start something with somebody. What do you mean, Mr. Kent? Well, Mr. Kent, now where were you when Superman made his appearance or whatever? Or even with the gangsters, she would be, she would say like, what do you want? And the gangsters would actually slap her sometimes. They would never do that to Noel Neal, but
Right.
they would always do it to Phyllis Coach. So
There were some interesting episodes in the early the first season of the Phyllis Coates, um,
the
uh,
Mole Men,
the Mole Men. There was the one where Jimmy Olsen's aunt or got kidnapped or something, and
yeah.
yeah, the minor bird. Help me! I'm drowning. God,
They should really bring some of those back.
they
They
sure
should bring.
should. Let me go through. I want to personally thank Steve Lapointe, David Fuller, Chris A, Paul Roman, Chris A again, Jacob Bailey, Doug Wetzel, Ruthless Goat, my buddy from Colorado, the chairman. Absolutely a big thank you to you, sir. And please stay safe during your COVID runs. Jason Kaplan, Johnny Quest, and Mark G for hitting super chat tonight. Thank you very much. Really, seriously, thank you for that. I really do appreciate it greatly. Thank you.
Or as Art Fleming used to say on Jeopardy, when the people were applauding him as he came out for the beginning of the show, "You're too kind."
You're too kind. In fact, you're every kind. Robert Preston said that in Victor Victoria.
So
All right, so we have, as Sal Blandino calls it, Thriller Jeopardy.
yes,
Um, so let's see. Timothy Veltman, by the way, sent the answers with regards to my birthday.
well, I
Six,
have him here too.
yes. Oh, okay, you got them. Good. Okay, so I won't give them away. Um, but was
Well,
what?
you want to do it now? Or you want to wait till tomorrow?
Um,
Thriller-
I'll
The
save it for
Thriller birthday.
tomorrow. We'll save it for
All right,
tomorrow.
all
Let me
right.
let me get the chairman left me some questions last night, and I have to scroll through all the messages I got today. And let's see. Wait a minute. We did this one
What?
already. I guess he did send
We
the. I
did a whole
thought he
bunch of them
sent them
last
to
night.
me. Um, I've got the one from the presidents. We did that. Oh, I guess maybe I don't have a set of questions for today.
All right. Well,
All right.
we'll have Thriller birthday Jeopardy tomorrow for the one and only.
Yes. As if of course, I hope Sal Blandino comes to my, birthday show.
You know what I should do? I should really tempt you. I should have Renata make that cake that you were so enamored with a couple of years ago, and just hold it in front of the camera tomorrow night and
Oh, you
say,
know what though?
visualize, make believe that you
Yeah,
can
I
smell it and eat it.
that cake was so amazing and so rich. I don't know that I could I don't know that I could eat it again. It was so good. That really it was the recipe. It was a butter pecan. I forgot what it was called now, but it was a butter pecan cake, and one slice of this cake had 800 calories, and I'm talking about a small slice. Okay, 800 calories. What was it, like
Ooh,
16 sticks of butter in the darn thing?
I
Yeah,
remember she was making it.
Mrs. Rayo did me was wonderful to make that cake for me. That was just insane. That was so insane.
That's one of the drawbacks of not being able to work together is to tempt you with those kind of. And I guarantee you, if we were together, I would have told her to make it for you. would have brought it in tomorrow. But
Yeah, but
oh
we
well.
no now we can't
I'll
we
tell you what. I'll meet you half.
social
We'll meet you
distancing.
halfway over the weekend. I'll meet you halfway. We'll go to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and I'll give you the cake.
Yes. Oh, good Lord. All right, so I guess we can call it a night.
So 9:30 tomorrow.
Time approximate tomorrow 9:30. I should be back by then. At least that's the plan. So
Okay.
we'll do that. And
The other
once
reason why we're doing it at 9:30 is that at 8 o'clock tomorrow, I'm giving a talk to the Astronomical Society of Long Island on taking astronomy and trying to link it with weather, with meteorology. And I actually gave this talk, a library talk that you actually had me go to North Babylon. And in fact, one of the people who is on the chat board, I think he's still on, Joe Gaffney, was in the
yes, he was.
audience
I
when
saw him earlier.
I gave that talk at North Babylon. So now, because of the state that we're in, I'm giving it tomorrow night to a Long Island group, virtual. So, and that's 8 o'clock. I expect to be done by 9 or 9:15. Originally, I said, well, what are we going to do? I mean, we can't, how's this going to play into doing the show tomorrow night? But then you said you're going to be at your daughter's house. So
Right. I'm going to be at
9:30.
I'm going to be with my daughter, my son-in-law, and my grandsons tomorrow.
Great.
That's going to be my day. Usually the day after a snow event, even a minor one, I kind of take a step back. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to take a step back. It'll be a quiet day. So don't get people get nervous. There are some people that if I don't post something, at least if I go for a number of hours without posting something, I'll get a message. Is everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Gonna need a break tomorrow. That's gonna be my break day because I have snow in the forecast here for North Georgia tomorrow night. So I want to hopefully I'll get to see something. They just have snow showers in the forecast here because I'm 2,500 feet up. So I'll get to see that, and I am planning to drive back to New York on Saturday. I might even leave as early as Friday afternoon, but definitely coming back on Saturday. So if we do wind up with snow early next week, I am going to be there for it. All right, it'd be a shame if I weren't. If I were going to miss the. Do you realize, by the way, Joe, we haven't not had accumulating snow um, during the winter season yet here
During the
from
winter season.
the winter
Yeah.
season itself, because technically the December. You see this, I don't want to. I'm doing something that I told somebody not to do because they made the point that it hasn't snowed inside the winter season because the first snow was in December 15th or 16th or whatever it was. But in my world, uh, if it snows in December, January, February, and March, it counts as part of the winter season. That's just kind of how I look at it. Um,
And
and
I
that's
want
it.
to just say hello. I want to say hello in the chat board to Rich Salvo, who says much of his message is in uppercase. I'm halfway into the video, and with are these? Oh, what are these? Okay, he said, what are these people talking about? Joe and Joe hyping storms up. People are so delusional. That's the one thing they never do. Move on, trolls or ignorant people.
Thank you, Rich. It's funny because I may not only Joe. Let's just go back to that subject matter for a moment. And before we do that, Bill Rogers, thanks for the birthday wishes. And yes, I will be taking a couple of extra, maybe a shot or two of brandy tomorrow. But Rick's point is exactly my point through all of this. I, you know, for those of you who are on Facebook with me when I put up my website posts, I usually put like a paragraph that sort of describes it. I mean, in every single paragraph, I think in the last 3 days, I've used the word weak, disorganized, not much to worry about, et cetera, et cetera. I don't understand it. I really don't. And I guess, look, if you're going to hold me to a standard, if I'm telling you that there's going to be anything from a coating to an inch or two, and we don't even get that, I think there's something wrong with you. I think there's something wrong with you. If you are willing to give, I mean, that just to me shows that you don't give anybody any kind of room at all. Um, So no, there's something wrong with you. But it was so bothersome to me. I put in a lot of work and a lot of time in what I do, um, and what you do, you put in a lot of time and a lot of work. So to have somebody disparage you falsely is is really bothersome and it's insulting. So I get pissed about it.
Well, better to be pissed off than pissed on, Joe.
Yes, I know. I was waiting. I set
Yeah.
you up, didn't I?
Yes.
Thank you, Peter. Because Peter, Peter Bicker knows what I'm talking about because that thread occurred and he was in part of that conversation, but he was in that thread, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about here. Uh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to harp on it, but it really bothered me. It just really bugged the crap out of me. So
Right.
and it still
All right.
doesn't. I'm going to have to drink more wine in order to wash it away.
All
So
right. So let's shut this down now so you can have your wine and
yes, please,
have a big smile
please.
on your face when you go to bed tonight.
Yes. All right. Have a great night. Thanks everybody for being here. Remember tomorrow night, 9:30 ish. Okay. I'll actually will open the chat board tomorrow morning before I leave, so you guys can all talk up. You can talk amongst yourselves, and then hopefully I'll be back on time. All right, go Joe. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.